Hello, everyone. Welcome to Birth Your Vision podcast live. I'm Hannah Kukuliyi, your host. This show provides inspiration, advice, strategies, and tips for women in business and for aspiring female entrepreneurs who are looking to turn their skills or ideas into successful, profitable business. So each week, I interview leading experts in business who have birthed and turned their vision into a profitable business. And they have also succeeded and also gained success. So each week they come and really share their powerful story as well as their journey with our listeners. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. So on today's show, we are rounding up International Women's Month with our two remarkable guest speakers, and they'll be joining me live very shortly. So today's episode, we are going to be talking all about endometriosis, which is actually an awareness month in March, where we have two amazing, powerful leading women in business and in leadership. They'll be talking about how they've actually managed and how they've actually coped with the impact of this chronic condition whilst successfully managing, to be able to balance their career and their profession as well as balancing life and family. So, without further ado, my first guest is the wonderful Councillor Sanchia Alasia. She is the former mayor for the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham. She's an award-winning specialist in equality, diversity, and human resource. She currently works at Southbank University as their Equality and Diversity Manager. She was the first woman to be elected in the council in 2010 and was the first of three Black women to be elected there. She has held a number of positions as a school governor, chair of health and adult services, scrutiny committee, and chair of planning committee. Sanchia was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis in 2010 and has used a political position to raise awareness of the impact of the condition to be able to help so many women who are actually suffering from this chronic illness. And that is my wonderful guest. And my second guest is the wonderful Anita Gohil-Thorp. She is a former city-based lawyer. She's the mother of two daughters and a transformational coach. She's also supporting quite a lot of lawyers, business owners, CEOs, and directors to be able to find success and fulfillment in their life and in work. Anita also runs a powerful women's group, which she was able to set up in 2020 to be able to help so many women, and it's called Synergy Women in Business, a network for local business women. And during 2020, she established Elevate Coaches Circle, supporting coaches to be able to sharpen up their skills. Anita also lives with a still not well-known chronic condition called endometriosis, a really, really chronic condition that actually affects the menstrual cycle in 1 in 10 women. And so I am so excited to welcome the wonderful, amazing women who will be joining me here today to be able to talk more, about this condition and also raise awareness. So, this month it's about raising awareness, and I have two wonderful women who will be joining me right now. So I'm going to invite Councillor Sanchia to actually join. And also, I'm going to invite the wonderful Anita. So, welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you on Birth Your Vision podcast live. Thank you so much, Councillor Sanchia. Also to Anita. How are you both doing?
Thank you for having us, Hannah. Yes, I'm doing very well today. Happy that lockdown is easing very slowly and that the sun is shining. So yeah, a lot to be thankful and grateful for.
Yeah, likewise. Just thanks very much for having us. And yeah, feeling pretty good today. And as I was saying earlier, just really uplifted with the sunshine today, I think.
And how are you doing, Anita?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's been a good, productive day. And, certainly with the condition that we live with, when it's a good, productive day, we are extremely happy. We are tenfold happy than on other days. So it's a good day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for both joining us on this wonderful occasion. And, the topic today, it's about, endometriosis, which is a condition that is very common in women, and it's chronic, it's painful, and, it gets worse steadily. And you both are, two wonderful professional women that actually has had this condition for a while, and it's really nice for us to be able to welcome you to this platform to actually share your experiences and how you've been able to kind of cope and manage whilst working, and also building your career, your professional career, and also following your political journey as well. So I would like to just kickstart this conversation by really sharing one or two facts about endometriosis. So, this is a condition that actually affects women of childbearing age. Although girls and post-menopausal women can also be affected, but in women, is a very common condition, and it's affected, over 2 million, if not more, in the UK. And it's a generally recognized condition, and it's really something that affects women, especially women who are of different ages. And so it'd be really great for us to kind of look at some of the other women who also suffer from this illness. I've been able to look at some research, and even celebrities also have this condition as well, but we will get to that very soon. So Councillor Sanchia, I just want to say thank you so much for really coming to this podcast live today. So I really just want to start with you. If you can actually just tell us your own definition of what endometriosis is.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this awareness raising, which is really, really important, and the first step, I think, in getting more help and support for those of us that suffer with it. So endometriosis is the name of the condition that myself and Anita suffer from. We call it endo for short, so that may be easier for people to remember. So endo is where cells similar to the ones inside the lining of the womb in our uterus are found elsewhere in the body. And so basically each month these cells react in the same way to those in the womb. So they build up and then they break down and bleed. But the cells inside the womb leave the body through your monthly period, but the cells that grow outside the womb have nowhere to escape, and that is what is causing the chronic pain and the heavy periods and many other signs and symptoms to go with that as well.
Wow, thank you so much for that. So Anita, I just wanted to know how this condition has actually impacted in your work life.
Yes, thank you. So for me personally, when I was younger, I think we didn't really know that much about endo, actually. And in my younger working life, I just had to hide it, really. We didn't have a work culture where you shared any of this kind of thing at all. Any women's problems, any women issues, So certainly in my younger days, in that working life, it was hiding it, suffering in silence, trying to cover up, which I think in itself meant that I couldn't show up as my best self at work. And if I'm not showing up as my best self at work, then I'm not fulfilling my potential. But it took many years before I was diagnosed that then it all started to make sense. And what I can say now is in my working life now, running my own business, supporting another organization and being open about it, that leads to greater freedom in the workplace. So being able to talk about it and be one's authentic self around endometriosis allows you to show up as your best as is possible, and allows you to have the conversations around flexibility. So I've had some unfortunate experiences in the workplace with my work, but now I'm seeing that conversations and awareness are allowing us to really change that.
Amazing. That's really awesome. So, Councillor Sanchia, tell us about the symptoms and the signs of endo.
Yeah, I mean, there's various signs and symptoms that can be displayed. So the one that I guess most people will be familiar with, for those of us that suffer from it, is intense cramps, which is certainly a feature for me, particularly around my period. But there are other symptoms, and I won't outline all of them because it will take, a long time, but I guess I'll just outline some of the other ones that I suffer from, as well as intense cramps. So I get back pain, constipation, fatigue, so tiredness, some painful periods, sometimes heavy periods, and frequent urination. And as you can see from the signs and symptoms that I've outlined, they interchange with many other conditions. And so this is why sometimes it's really hard for us to get that definitive diagnosis. And on average, it's taking at least 8 years for women to be properly diagnosed. And that time frame of taking 8 years hasn't changed in the last 10 years. And so this is why it's really important. Every March of every year is Endometriosis Awareness Month. Normally, we would have physical events, but obviously we can't do that. But we're still using the online platforms to raise awareness of this condition, and that seems to be working quite well.
Wow, that's really amazing. So how does this affect you, Councillor Sanchia? Because, you are someone who's very busy with your councillor, being a councillor, and also, working as a manager for Southbank University. So, how do you actually manage this condition as well as every other thing that you're doing as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first management strategy for me is understanding and awareness.
Yeah.
That's what it starts with. So, when I started at London Southbank University last year, I told my line manager that I suffered from this condition, and she's very understanding around the week of my periods that I might have to do shorter days. And I'm working from home full time, so I guess that helps, because normally if I'm getting, intense cramps, then I wouldn't be able to travel to work normally. But where I'm working from home, I might be able to do half a day instead. So I think understanding and awareness is the first thing, from the people that you work with. So from my counsellor colleagues, from my work colleagues at the university, from friends and family, because I might be too unwell to attend an event. I mean, I know there's not been so many physical events, and I can attend online events with my camera off with endo, but if you think pre-COVID, the physical events, sometimes I would be too unwell to attend, and you have to have people that are understanding to know that you're not just bailing out on them on the last minute or letting them down, but actually you are suffering from this, and it is affecting you in that way that you can't always be where you need to be. So really the most important thing is understanding, awareness and sympathy, that we may not always be operating at full strength.
Wow, fantastic. So Anita, when it comes to your business and kind of juggling and balancing family, how have you been able to do that, knowing that you also experience this condition as well?
I've learned over the years actually to sort of plan better, to have an idea of when my period might come. The other thing for me I would share is that my periods are sometimes all over the place. They're not so predictable, which is a real pain. But I try to work out which week is going to be a difficult week, and I do try to schedule in things around that. And it's just something that I've had to, I've just had to accept. It's a condition we live with. We can't just live by the label. We do have to adjust. And so that's certainly one of the things with my business and my work I've had to adjust. That said, I do feel that there's some comfort in talking about it and being open about it, which enables me to actually then turn up. So I probably have actually been at events where actually I am in a lot of pain, but I get through it by just being honest and just saying, look, today's, a bit of a bad day for me. I didn't want to cancel. So, here I am showing up. And I think that, the strategies include that honesty. They include planning and scheduling effectively. And I think what I would add is that I think if I'd known that when I was younger, I would have been happier. It took a long time. It took for the awareness around endo for me to start saying, you know what, I just need to just deal with it and get on with it and talk about it. So I'm very, very grateful for this podcast. I'm grateful for Endo Awareness Month. Long may it continue.
Yeah. I mean, where did you get your courage from? Because, many women who are going through, challenging adversities as well as, having a condition, they find it very hard to really kind of manage. And, where is your courage from? Could you share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So I had quite a life-changing event in 2007 when I had my second child. So I've been fortunate enough to have my children, and I wasn't diagnosed until after I had children, although I do feel I must have had it before because of the pain I was in. But I had a life-changing situation when my child was born. It all kind of became very traumatic. And the options were I either give in and give up to the stress and the pain and so forth, or I have to do something about it. I have to take intentional action. And that sort of began my journey on, positive mindset, well-being, becoming a coach and so forth. And just through this ongoing understanding, learning, and, shifting in my job, driven by my daughters. I have daughters. I do not want them to have this condition,
Yes.
So they also motivated me to sort of just, get on with my life, really. So, yeah, a combination of things that kind of got me. But I think it's also for us that suffer. And I think if you suffer any chronic condition, there's something inside you at some point that just says you're going to have to deal with it. Because at the moment, the doctors don't know what they're doing half the time.
Yeah. Which really brings me to the next question as to how is it actually diagnosed, Councillor Sanchia, if you can share that with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite invasive, to be honest with you, because, there are a variety of ways. So, you can see it on ultrasounds, and we would recommend, a vaginal ultrasound rather than one that's done on the stomach. You can see it on an MRI scan. So for those of you that haven't done an MRI scan, you go into a big long tunnel. It's quite narrow and it's quite loud, but that can pick it up. But the gold standard of definitively diagnosing endo is actually through a laparoscopy, which is basically an operation. So you can see there that, if that's the way to diagnose it, then that's going to be prohibitive to a lot of women. But I was initially diagnosed through a laparoscopy. So that's where they cut through a small incision in your stomach so that they're able to blow it up, probably with gas and look inside and see, if you have endometriosis and what level of endometriosis that you have. And the laparoscopy, the sort of surgery, is still seen as the most definitive way. And obviously that is difficult because some people might not want to have an operation. And obviously during the lockdown, it's been very difficult to even get those sort of operations. So that is how it can be diagnosed.
Right. I mean, how serious is this condition? I just want to know from both of you, because you've both experienced it and you're still experiencing it. How serious is it if it's not treated? Over to you, Anita.
To be honest, I mean, I'm not actually on any treatment.
Okay.
And I didn't have a laparoscopy because I referred to the sort of life-changing experience that was during my labor, and I had such a traumatic experience that I probably could not have any abdominal surgery again. So I could not have a laparoscopy. So mine was diagnosed via a scan. And so the treatments for me, one treatment that I did have early on was something called Zoladex, which is an injection that was inserted into my abdomen. The hormonal effects of that were enormous.
Right.
In that, it might help with the endometriosis. It helps by stopping the period in effect. So you can't actually even be on that non-stop. You've got to, there's a limited time you can be on that. But the side effects included huge mood swings, to the extent that after 4 injections, I had to actually say, I can no longer be on this. It's going to impact me in such a negative way. And I've got a family. I just can't function. So I think with treatments, you've got to find the right one. And as Councillor Sanchia will know, depending on which consultant you see, you might be, depending on your own unique circumstances, be referred for slightly different treatment. And I think it is an individual thing as to, what treatment works for you or what you feel you're willing to go for. It is so much a personal choice. And I myself have seen different consultants who've given me different opinions. So that actually doesn't help. But I think if you are physically otherwise well enough and mentally well enough to have treatment, then definitely you've got to do the thing that feels right for you.
What about you, Councillor Sanchia?
Yeah, I mean, endo is generally benign, so it's not known to be cancerous. So in that sense, you're not necessarily going to die from it. In that sense, there are 4 different stages. So it goes from stage 1, which is minimal, right up to stage 4, which is severe. And I was diagnosed with stage 4 11 years ago. And Anita has outlined some of the treatments. I've also taken Zoladex as well, and luckily I didn't suffer too many side effects. But with every treatment that you take, there might be either physical side effects or other side effects. So, for example, if somebody wanted to get pregnant, they couldn't take Zoladex because it wouldn't be compatible. So, with every treatment that you take, there's going to be a kind of consequence, so to speak. And so you do have to work, with the consultants, but also with how what life stage you are at to decide what's right for you, and also depending, as Anita said, on the side effects. And you won't necessarily know how it will affect you until you take it, because it could affect Anita in one way. I could take the same injection and it not affect me. So until you actually try it, there might be a bit of trial and error to find the right type of pain relief and relief in terms of managing the symptoms for you.
Right. So everyone experienced this condition in a totally different way. Right. Okay. So someone was just asking a question. They said, does it actually affect fertility, and how does it affect fertility?
It can do. As Anita said, and she's experienced herself, endometriosis doesn't necessarily cause infertility. So women that suffer from endo can still get pregnant. And Anita has done. However, endometriosis is linked with infertility. So a lot of women who are infertile do suffer with endo. And there are things that you can do to address that. There's egg freezing, there's IVF, there's artificial insemination, there's IUI. So there are treatments that are available if you are struggling to get pregnant. You can go through those treatments. Also surgery, if you're able to do surgery. Sometimes surgery to remove some of your endometriosis can also help along with you getting pregnant a little bit easier too.
Thank you. How was it for you, Anita, during pregnancy? Did you experience any difficulties? What support was given to you during that period?
During my first pregnancy was just wonderful. My second pregnancy, there was clearly something wrong. Something wasn't right. I was in pain literally throughout my pregnancy. And the doctor, I had numerous scans, and the doctors were not able to diagnose what was wrong. I was in and out of hospital. So it was a very, very difficult, stressful time. And then after she was born, I mean, she was an emergency cesarean, but even then they didn't, I mean, I don't know. It was a very traumatic situation. It was quite, it was very high octane. And so I don't think they even addressed the endo at that point. It was almost like, you look well enough now, off you go. But it is really since then, it is after her birth that the endo really sort of started to kick off in a big way. And it's hard to know really, where it stemmed from, whether anything could have been done differently, whether I could have done anything differently. And if the consultants can't see anything on scans, or they can't figure out what's wrong, you're at a loss. You just have to keep going day by day and pray. I just used to pray every day that the baby inside me is well. That it was a very, very tough time.
I could really imagine. I mean, how do you know you have it? What are the signs? Someone just asked the question, how do you know you have it? I know that you've actually said one or two things about the signs and the symptoms in the beginning. Someone said, how do you know? What do you feel what are the feelings that you feel to allow you to know whether you have it or not?
Yeah, I think, as we said before, every woman will experience it in slightly different ways. I mean, I guess the most common symptom is intense cramps around your period. So when I say intense cramps, it's cramps to the stage where, if I think about myself, I can't do a full working day.
Yes.
Or when I was at school, and I suppose I've had this for a long time, I had to take, day off school, the first day of my period every time. So it's cramps to the point where you can't function properly. Or you're being severely impaired in what you're trying to do. And if your period pain is causing you pain to that stage, it could be, not necessarily definitively, but it could be possibly endometriosis. As I said, there's a lot of other signs and symptoms: back pain, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, excessive bleeding, both during your period and in between your period, tiredness, headaches, and so many others. And as I said earlier, some of these signs and symptoms are interchangeable with a lot of other signs and symptoms. But what I would say is, if you suspect that you have it, there is help out there. There is the charity Endometriosis UK, of which I'm a trustee. We have fact sheets and free information on our website. We also have a helpline that people can call. So if you suspect you have it, I would say go to the website, have a look at our information on the website, call our helpline, and they will be able to guide you on, how you approach your doctor to help you get the diagnosis.
Brilliant. So, what do women with health conditions feel most strongly about when it comes to wanting to thrive in their business or maybe in their workplace? So, Anita, if you want to just answer that for us.
So could you just repeat the question?
Yes. What do women with health conditions feel mostly strongly about when it comes to wanting to thrive in their business or in the workplace?
I think there's an element of, self-judgment sometimes. You don't mean it to be there, but, you worry about, what people are going to think of you. You worry, what if you attend an event and then, something suddenly, kicks in then, I have been at a meeting, with a male where I then, had a really heavy period. It was just the most embarrassing thing. And you worry about things like that. And if that's the case, at the back of your mind, especially for somebody like myself, where my periods are not necessarily the same time every month, I try to plan, but you can't always plan. So there is that worry at the back of my mind. And it's also about, are the clients going to judge you? The supplier's going to judge you? So it's I think it's that the general lack of awareness, the lack of acceptance that we all probably have something, just puts us in a position of worrying whether we can thrive or not. But what I would say is that once we embrace who we are and don't let endo label us, and we don't live by that label, if we can focus on more of what we really want to accomplish, it might mean we've got to kind of, make some additional plans and some contingencies and so forth. But I think many people do that anyway. So I think it's just about, let's just embrace who we are. And, endo seems to be here to stay, certainly for a while. So, we do have to learn to kind of manage it. And, I also have other ways of managing it because, as I said, I haven't had surgery. For me, just getting through the pain includes doing visualizations, affirmations, gratitude.
Yes.
And even in, this excruciating pain, which I know Councillor Sanchia can relate to, even through that pain, lying on the floor, sometimes crying your eyes out with pain, you just still have to look what's okay. What is okay in my life at the moment? I've got a home, I've got my other health, I've got, my children, touch wood, are okay at the moment. So I think the worry is definitely always there at the back of the mind, but you do have to work on, countering that with what else is going on in life and the world.
Absolutely, indeed. I think it's just about making sure that you have good support in place, because that's really crucial, especially, when you're a mother and you're also a professional career woman, or maybe even running your business. Having a good, solid network is very, very important for any chronic condition.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. And someone wanted to know whether there is a cure for this condition. So Councillor Sanchia, is there any cure for this condition?
Not officially. So there are ways that it can be managed. I mean, that's why it's called a chronic condition. And sometimes in that management, it doesn't come back. But there is no guarantee that the way that we manage it will mean that it won't come back. And so there isn't officially a cure. However, some people have had operations or tried the various different treatments available and found that the symptoms do not affect them. Other people have, done this, those operations and taken those medication, and it comes back. So, and there's no really way of telling, there's no really way of diagnosing to say, well, if you do this, it won't come back, and if you do this, it won't come back. But some people have had operations and they've removed the endometriosis and they've never suffered from it again. Other people have had 5 operations, 10, 15.
Yeah.
Going back and back and back. So officially there isn't a cure, but some people have found that through the different ways of managing it, they haven't suffered with the symptoms again.
Right. Okay. So it varies. Everyone is different. Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Indeed. So with both of you, being in different leadership role, I just wanted to know whether you can actually share some strategies of how, other women can actually remain positive and motivated in business, despite any condition that they may actually go through. So I'll start with you, Anita.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think is that, living with the condition shouldn't stop you from having dreams and goals. And so, still have those and focus on those. And, it might not be as straight a journey as you like, but, who are we racing against, And I think it is a bit of a mindset shift there, because I think definitely when you're in business, or working and you're really keen to develop your career and your business as rapidly as possible, sometimes you're looking too much at just the end goal. But enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride when you can, and take a step back when you need to.
Thank you so much for that. What about you, Councillor Sanchia?
Yeah, I think it's like what Anita said. I mean, don't feel that, yes, it's a chronic condition and it causes a lot of issues, but don't let it define you. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, career aspirations or entrepreneurial aspirations, go for it. Go for it and try as best as you can to plan your life around it. And that's what I've done. I'm in the political sphere, I'm in the professional sphere, and I work around it as much as I can. I mean, fortunately for me, my periods are a bit more regular than Anita's. So they roughly happen every 29 days. So I can roughly, plan things around it. But sometimes it might come on the 24th day, or it might come on the 32nd day occasionally. And then it throws all my plans out. And the only thing I can do, as I say, that's why it goes back to awareness and sympathy, is that the people that I'm working with and my friends and family know that I have it. And so you might get a text message from me saying, actually, I'm not able to attend this thing, or I'm not able to do this thing. And you need that sympathy and understanding. That is the key thing. And to know that you're not going to be judged and people not thinking you're making it up or making excuses. But I've gone on to, do a lot of things politically, including becoming the mayor, as well as, started a new job at a new university last year. So you can still achieve and do what it is you want to do. So don't think that because you have this or any other long-term condition that you can. And if you're working in a space where people are not sympathetic, and that does happen because we do have to be real, you will find a place where they will be. Because I remember, doing a work placement many years ago, I won't name the company, and they were very unsympathetic, and I didn't know what it was at the time. But I've worked in places since that have been. So don't be put off. If you're not getting the right support, you can get the right support in time.
Indeed, absolutely. So what message do you want our listeners to take away from this wonderful podcast today, raising awareness on endo? So what sort of message do you want them to take away from this, Anita?
I would say just keep communicating, keep talking about endo. And, there are forums, on Facebook and so forth, on social media. Just keep talking, connect with other people, and just don't feel you're alone, because you really aren't.
Absolutely. What about yourself, Councillor Sanchia?
No, absolutely. I mean, there is help out there. As I said, I'm on the board of Endometriosis UK. Do go along to our website because we have a wealth of information on there. We're really working to end in the stigma of people having this condition and all year round, but particularly during Endo Awareness Month. It's really about raising the profile. So, for example, we've seen that EastEnders is having a character that is having endometriosis, Ruby, and that's fantastic. That's the first time that a soap, has done that, and that's what it's all about. It's about raising the awareness and getting that support that you need, and you can. You can get through it, and you can live with it. You just need to get the right strategies, help and support in place to do that.
Fantastic. So Anita, tell us a little bit more about your women's group, the women's network that you've actually set up. Tell us about the services that you actually offer.
So, that group was set up after I did a talk for my local council on stress management for business owners. It arose because you often feel that you go to events and then it's just, that's the end, where do you then connect, So it just arose from that, really, just to give women in particular a safe space to have a voice and just to feel that, we had each other's backs, really, because I think there's been an element in the past of, it's mainly men in business, women are starting to come out a lot more. And yet they are still quite introverted and quite shy, as was I. And just something in me meant I wanted to do that for women. And so it just, it just turned into a sort of, we would meet monthly, share what was going on with our businesses, and just inspire each other, and be there for each other. So whilst it was yes, it's networking, it's also actually a support group, really.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And so do you also support coaches as well?
Absolutely, yes. So I mentor aspiring coaches and other coaches. towards accreditations, and I also host a group for coaches just to support each other in sharpening their skill set and just excelling the profession of coaches.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. That sounds really awesome. And how can our viewers and our listeners actually get in touch with you, should in case they want to kind of attend some of your programs or even some of your events as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, as they can see here, anitagohil-thorp.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. So absolutely just link in with me. And I'm always more than happy to answer queries and just have a general chat, because I think, it is all about connecting.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you so much for that. And Councillor, what sort of hopes and aspiration do you want to share with our viewers who may just be at the verge of sort of giving up because they have a condition and they just feel really, really low self-esteem? What positive message can you actually share with them today?
Yeah, I mean, whether you have, endo or another chronic condition, there is help and support out there. Most of these conditions, just like endo, have a charity that where you can get information and support. We have support groups, information. So don't feel that you have to suffer in silence.
Yes.
There is help out there, and I think if you arm yourself with the information, you can then make informed choices about how you best manage your condition. It doesn't necessarily mean that condition is going away. I've lived with it for quite some time now, and I'm still living with it. But I think knowing what it is and knowing that I have options, it just gives you that peace of mind, I think. And knowing that the support is out there and you can reach out, I think is helpful. So don't feel that you have to suffer in silence. There's most likely a charity that is dealing with your condition that will be able to support you in so many different ways. So reach out. Google is your best friend. Reach out and find out what is out there, and just get all the help, advice and guidance that you can in order to know how best to live with and manage your condition.
Thank you so much. What about you, Anita? Any sort of lasting word, inspirational word for our viewers?
I just think that, as I say, we do tend to feel held back by things like this, chronic conditions. But I think, as Councillor Sanchia has also said, that there's some real power in just let's embrace who we are. We do have this to deal with, but we really can still have those hopes and dreams. It just takes a little bit more of kind of lifestyle management, and that's okay. A lot of people have to do that, and let's just embrace.
Absolutely, definitely. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure having you join us today on the podcast live. We've had some great engagement from our listeners, and I'm sure they'll be able to reach out to you should they need your support and your help. And it's really great to also know that there is quite a lot of charities out there, as well as support groups that can actually help women. And so it's really all about women reaching out, should in case they have experienced something very similar to some of the signs and the symptoms that's been mentioned tonight from our guest. So I just want to say thank you to all our viewers. Thank you so much for your support and your encouragement. And also to my two wonderful guests, Councillor Sanchia and also Anita. Thank you so much for joining us on today's live podcast. And we just want to say, leave all your comments in the section below. Any other questions, I'll be able to answer them for you. And also you can actually reach us on our YouTube page, subscribe and also share and support the work that we're doing. So until next week again with another amazing guest, I just want to say thank you to all my viewers and to my wonderful guests. Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a great evening. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.